So, lesson 8, Nabhari, and this subtitle is Nimgumul Itnin. Nimgumul means around, from the radicals used for a circle. Nimgumul, around. And Itnin is, it means town, literally, but actually there's a deeper meaning to it. Anybody might remember the word for men or man? Yeah, so atan is men, and then uten is man. So those two, you see, there's a glottal stop tn. We see this returning here as well. So literally, itnin means place of men. That is what it means. But it's in practice means town. Let me put it that way. Now, why is that? Because the town dwellings of dwarves are not above ground; they're below ground commonly. Hence, it's not associated with a place of dwarves. But no, obviously, at some of these, you will have dwarves and you will have hobbits and whatnot. But literally, it means place of men. So anyway, what we're doing in this lesson is focusing on what we see in and around the town. Okay, so first of all, before we dive into that, let's do a Aganu Tafani, a repeat of the exercises. Now, this image you got in your exercises asked us to state which of these statements was correct. Now, the first of the statements was Tati Shatarul Razakul. I think that's pretty clear. Razakul means rainy, Shatarul means cloudy. It is cloudy and rainy. Yeah, I think that's a clear tick in the box for that one. The next statement, uten, and there's that word again, so men, or man to be exact. Uten tati niktunul fund rakust. Niktunul means between. Tati, of course, he is. So man, he is between the elf and the dwarf. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. He's right in the middle between those two. So again, that's one you should have ticked. The next one is kust tark kimir duhu. What does this mean? Kust tark kimir duhu. Yep, that's what it means. The dwarf has a brown beard, so dwarf kust, and then targ beard kimir is brown, specifically the color of hair, brown, and then duhu he has. Now, that's not the case. Can anybody tell me what color his beard is in Dwarvish? Yep, beeries. Now, you might recall that for red hair, we used beeries, but also for a more orange kind of fading of the color, ginger, if you will. Any type of red hair basically uses beeries. So it should have been kustark beeries duhu instead of kimir. Now the next one, Tatian Aivbaru Zahar. So Zahar is house, Aivbaru in front of, and Tatian, they are. Now, at first sight, you might think, well, they are in front of the house. They sure are. Yet, this one is not correct. Can anybody tell me why that is? Yes, well, then again, we could argue, how do we know the dwarf might be female, etc. But we're kind of assuming that at least the guy, the man in the middle, is male. I mean, with the elf, I'm guessing he's male as well. Kind of looks like Legolas, to be honest. The guy in the middle there, it's fairly certain he's male. So, and again, if we're not 100% sure, we go with the standard neutral or male form, which is Tatin. So it should have been Tatin Aivbaru Zahar, right? Hence, this one was not correct. Talking about the standard form Tatin, here it says Tatin Sulu Gedul Haga. What does this mean? Tatin Sulu Gedul Haga. Yeah, they are all very happy. Well, it's one thing they are clearly not, especially the guy in the middle. Yeah, they're not all very happy. So again, that one was not right. Then the last one we had was Tati Lu Ibrizul Alanurt. So today, or Alanurt being today. It is Tati and Lu Ibrizul not sunny. So it is not sunny today. Well, I think that's pretty obvious. It's raining, it's cloudy, so it's not going to be sunny. So that one is correct. Okay, the next one, we had a map showing certain weather forecasts. Let me put it that way. The first statement was Zatati Ibrizul ni farak. Now, for this, we kind of would need to remember what north, east, west, south was. Now, in English, you have these mnemonic devices that is like, I think it was never eat soggy waffles. Is like north, east, south, west. A way to remember that. I think in German it's nie ohne Seife waschen. You know, a way to remember what is north, what is east, and all of that. There's actually one that I use to remember why it's faham nut farak selem, which is the phrase freshmen need frequent puzzlement. Freshmen need frequent puzzlement. That's because all of these words have the radicals of those words in it. And that's kind of, well, apart from frequent has a Q instead of a K, but you kind of make the link. Freshmen need frequent puzzlement is the mnemonic I use. So faham is north, nut east, farak south, zelem west. So here it says Zatati Ibrizul ni farak. So Tati is, it is, he is. Zatati, it will be, so will. It will be sunny, Ibrizul ni farak in the south. So yeah, if we look at the south of the map, that is clearly the case. So that was a correct statement. Now the next one, Nizelem Zatati Bagadul Haga. What does it say here? Yep. So Nizelem in the west, Zatati it will be, Bagadul windy, and Haga is very, so very windy. Now the fact is, if we look at the map, it seems to be very windy in the east, in Nud, so not in Zelem. So it is windy somewhere on the map, but not in the west. It is in the east. So that is not a correct statement. The next one, Bagd Ninud Zaduma. So Bagd is the wind, Ninud in the east, Zaduma. What is Zaduma again? Anybody recall? Yeah, we will have. So wind in the east we shall have, literally. So it will be windy in the east. I think that's pretty clear. I mean, the eastern side of the map there, it is windy. So yep, that is correct. Then the next one, Zatati laba maraskul ni faham. So again, we need to recall that faham is north. It's, to be honest though, the picture kind of says that it's a rainy bit of weather, a bit of snow. It's snow and rain coming in, but at least it's snow. So it will be Laba Maraskul snowy in the north. Yeah, that's pretty clear. Okay, the next one, Zatati Ibrizul Haga ni faham. So we've just established that in the north, what we're seeing there is some rainy, snowy weather. So if it says here, it will be Ibrizul Haga, so very sunny in the north, then that obviously isn't true. It's actually very sunny in the south. Ni farak, not in ni faham. So that's not true. So those were, that was that section. So going on to the next one, which was a translation that we needed to do. By it all was, this was, by the way, a exercise on the imperative. So what we had was ipkim is by, and then by it, ipkim hu sulu. Sulu is all or everything, or everyone even, it could be. So keep in mind here that the imperative, just like any other verb form, can and will combine with the pronoun. You have things like take them, ihliti dian, for instance, or by it, ipkimhu, like we're seeing here. So we'll just connect to it as we saw with verbs like tati and other verbs in the imperfect, which we've which is basically the standard form that we've used in all of these lessons so far. So some of you translate it as ipkim sulu, which would be by everything or by all. But the translation request was by it all, and that you can literally translate ipkim hu sulu. Then the next one, take, and this was a difficult one, I have to admit. Quite a few people had this one wrong. Take them, and then we're seeing the female them with you, and the you in this case is the male plural. So take them with you becomes ihliti dian zaizun. Now the issue often was that quite a few of you had written zaihun. Now, if it was zaihun, it would be take them with them, not take them with you. So, zu, zi is the singular of you, if you attach it to zai in that case. So then it would be with you, but then the singular. And then the plural, we add that n, so it's zaizun, with you, in this case, several males or a mixed group. So take them with you, ihliti dian zaizun. And again, if it were zaihun, it would mean take them with them. Okay, then don't ask that. A couple of you used the imperfect here. Here, all of these exercises were the imperative because they're commands. Even if they're negative ones, right? There's still a command to do or not do something, which is very typical of the imperative. So don't ask that was ne izri tada. So ne is don't, izri the imperative of ask, and then tada is that. Ne izri tada, don't ask that. And by the way, the ask in this case was specifically requested as singular, otherwise it would be izri with an extension on that last vowel. Then the next one, listen everyone, that was ibiri sulu. Now I did not specify whether the listen should be plural or singular because it's evident that it's plural because I'm saying listen everyone. And then obviously the word for everyone is sulu. Again, sulu means all, everyone, or even anything, or everything. That's all of these use the word sulu. Then come, we will speak. Now in this case, come is addressed to one person. So inki is a maglibi. So za is will, shall, and then maglibi is we speak. So we will speak. Inki is a maglibi. Okay, then we had a few clocks up and you had to tell the time. Now, the most frequent problem, if you will, with these exercises was that people forgot to extend the vowel. Now, if you would say, which quite a few of you did, sasek ra amlak, it means 10 and a half. But in Neo-Khuzdul we say 10th, like the 10th hour. 10th and a half. So sasek, not sasek, because sasek is 10, and then sasek is the 10th hour, basically. Sasek ramlak, 10:30. And then we had 5 past 1, ze, again, not ze, ze, extended vowel plus the glottal stop, ze, ze ra gamek. So the first, or first and 5. That's what it literally means. Then 5 to 12 was nusasek. Again, that extended vowel. It's not 12. It's the 12th hour. Hapkulul less. So reduced, if you will. Less gamek 5. So 12 less 5. Literally, that's what it means. And then the last one there, ges. Again, extending that. It's the 6th hour, not just 6. So ges hapkulul rumku. Rumku kind of reminds you there of ramek, which is 4. Rumku means quarter. It's like the French quatre and quarter again in English. Yeah. It's linked to the same root, same thing. Rumku is linked to the same root as ramek. 4 and a fourth of something, a quarter of something, if you will. So ges hapkulul rumku, literally meaning 6th less a quarter. Okay, that's it for the repeats. Now we're going to dive in to section 2, labirinu. We are going to talk about atamas. or atamas e. So atamas is preferences. Atmas is a preference. Atamas is preferences. Now you might remember this form we've seen before. Remember the plural structure of color and colors. So we had ankad and anakad. So atmas and atamas, same thing. It's the same structure used. So atamase is my preferences. So we're going to basically be talking about what we like, what we, don't care about or really don't have an opinion about. Let me put it that way. And what we do like. That is what we're looking at here. So a couple of lines mentioned here on our dartboard. So the first thing is tashiye. So tashi, the verb tashi means it displeases, describing the causing of displeasure. Whoever is the subject does the displeasing. Let me put it that way. Tashi, it displeases. Ashi, I displease. Mashi, we displease. It's like verbs like annoy, bother, upset, disappoint. They describe causing the feeling in question. So it displeases in this case. So that's the verb tashi. So tashiye, it displeases me. I displease, or we displease, or he displeases, etc., etc. But if you want to say I am displeased, you would say ati mashul. Mashul is the adjective displeased. So to be clear here, why this distinction? Mashul is not a verb; it's a passive adjective. It describes a state. Right? Because of this, it may need the verb tati to function in a sentence, like ati mashul. I am displeased. The person, I, in this case, is not doing anything. They are simply in a state of receiving the feeling, if you will. So think of mashul like tired, broken, hurt, pleased. They don't do these things. You are them, right? And that's the difference with tashi. To displease, you cause the displeasure, right? The person, whether it's he causes or in this case, it displeases. So keep that in mind. It's not the same thing as saying I am displeased. It says it displeases me. Okay, so it's from a different standpoint. Right. The next line. Taglibiye ambak. So taglibi we have seen. Can anybody recall what taglibi means? Yeah. So it speaks or he speaks or talks, Then taglibiye is speaks to me, talks to me. And then ambak, you don't know, but in a way you kind of do. Do you remember that if we say he has, let's say, no beard, right? He has no house, no mansion, we use the word zero in Neo-Khuzdul to say that. So we would say targ mabak. That's the word for zero, mabak. So this is related to this. So ambak literally means the word nothing. So zero is mabak, ambak is nothing. So if we say taglibi, it speaks to me. Again, keep in mind that we need to add, just like tashiye, we need to add that interfix, the y, to connect tashi with e, because we can't say tashi e, we have to say tashiye. So with that interfix, it says then taglibiye, it speaks to me, and then it says ambak, nothing. Think of mabak, which was zero, which I have no beard or I have no house. That's the word you use, mabak. So ambak. So literally what it says here, taglibiye ambak, it says nothing to me. So it's indifferent. That's what we're talking about here. If you say taglibiye ambak, you're indifferent to it. It doesn't please you. It doesn't displease you. You don't like it. You don't necessarily dislike it. It just, it's complete indifference. That's taglibiye ambak. Then we have mahariki or maharikihu. So let's dissect that one. So mahariki, the first part of that is actually an allied verb. Now, we haven't seen allied verbs and we're not going to go into them in detail. We've seen one or two tiny little bits of allied verbs in previous lessons, but I don't want to go deep dive on that. I'm just saying it's a tiny little piece you add to a verb to change that meaning of the verb. So ma usually indicates making or creating something. So maharikihu, so make, and then ariki, I side. I choose a side. I pick a side. That's ariki. By the way, remember the kinship terms for uncle or aunt, where we had Iraq Adad, Iraq Ahmad. So Iraq, it means side. So I choose a side, ariki. You see the same letters returning there. Then we have, so make a side, I choose a side, I make a side, literally becomes the meaning I like. So I make a side, I like it. You choose to be with something. You choose a side on something. You declare that you enjoy something, in this case, that you like it. And then we add who, or we can add who, which means it. So if you say, I like it, you're literally saying, I choose the side of it, right? I choose the side of it. That's what you're saying. I like it. Now, keep in mind that these verbs like tashi and taglibi and mahariki, they can also, or at least the endings of them, can be slightly changed. What I mean is, if you're talking about several things, you're going to say they displease me. So it would be tashine instead of tashiye. Tashin is they displease. Then you don't need that interfix y. So you're not saying tashiye, you're saying tashin e, they displease me. Same with taglibiye ambak, that is, it says nothing to me. If you're talking about several things, you're basically saying they say nothing to me. So that would be taglibine ambak, they say nothing to me. And with maharikihu, instead of I like it, it would be maharikihun, I like them, right? You make it into a plural. So depending obviously on what you're talking about, you could say tashiye, it displeases me, or tashine, they displease me, or taglibiye ambak, it says nothing to me, or taglibine ambak, they say nothing to me, or maharikihu, I like it, maharikihun, I like them. The easy thing on how you say I like XYZ is you state whatever it is you like or dislike or are indifferent about, and then add this phrase, tashiye, taglibiye ambak, maharikihu, and you may need to obviously alter it according to singular or plural. Now, some of you might think, if maharikihu means I like it, why can't I simply say ne maharikihu, rejecting the thing? I don't like it. Well, you could. You could say, instead of tashiye, you could say ne maharikihu, but there's a slight difference of meaning between ne maharikihu and tashiye. So with ne maharikihu, you're basically saying I, or even lu maharikihu, I reject the thing itself, right? I don't like, I do not choose the side of this thing. You're rejecting whatever it is. With tashiye, the thing affects you, right? So it's, tashiye sounds less blunt because it focuses on how the speaker feels. It fits the explanatory context rather than a blunt refusal. Let me put it that way. So depending on how strongly you dislike something, you could even say ne maharikihu, because both of these things can be translated as I don't like it, right? So ne maharikihu or lu maharikihu, I do not like it. Ne mahariki is literally I don't like it. It's the object, sounds like a decision or a judgment, if you will. In English, you would kind of translate this as no, I don't like that, or no, that's not for me, or no, I don't want this. It's here the speaker rejects the thing, right? While with tashiye, it displeases me. It's talking about the speaker's experience. It sounds more personal, more reflective. In English, you could have parallels like that doesn't sit well with me, or I don't feel good about this, or that's not to my taste. You know, it's more of a personal thing. So it's not per se an outright rejection. It simply causes an unpleasant feeling, right? So again, there's a slight difference between them. But yes, you could also say ne maharikihu if you wanted to, but that's a very clear rejection. Let me put it that way. Okay, so that's more of the general info on these three statements. So maharikihu, as I said, I like it. Okay, so I've put up our little dartboard here and put up the options tashie, tashine, taglibie, taglibine, and mahariki or maharikihun. And we're going to go through a couple of possible topics here, and feel free to try one out if you want. Now, again, if there's a word that you like or don't like or are indifferent about, a very easy way is just saying what that word is and then the line after it as listed there. Okay, first thing that we have our little dart here is ablag, foods. Now, I'm going to show you quite a few, and you can pick whichever dart you want to throw. I'll let you pick a few of these. The next one, ishur. Ishur is smoking. A black shulk, spirits. Now, shulk is the word for drink. A shulk is a drink. And ablak is strong, so literally power drink, strong drink, spirits. Now, some of these words we've seen before. Tarag, beards. Khazad. Now, I would be very surprised if somebody did not pick maharikihu on this one, because otherwise you might be in the wrong class. But anyway, Khazad, maharikihu, or maharikihun, actually, because it's a plural. Zulal, lager. Yeah, I think I'd go with maharikihu as well on that one. Azg shamar. Now, you might remember azg from the word Mark azg zarsul, which was the word for Thorin Oakenshield way back in lesson 1. Oakenshield. Azg zars is the oak tree. Zars, the word for tree, and azg, the word for war. So azg shamar means war guardians, guardings, or things that guard. So armor. Azg Shamar, armor. For me personally, the Azg Shamar is, in the Taglibie Ambag category, personally. I mean, it's nice, but, I'm not going to go to a festival about it or something like that. Bekar, arms. You might recall this from the Hobbit movie Du Bekar, where Thorin shouts that when they are fighting in Moria. Dubekar, to arms, it means. So arms or weapons, blades, whatever. Arms. Then Malkan, hobbits. I've seen that one before. Fanad, elves. Zizi, coins. So money, another word for zizi. Maran, wine. We've seen Labam Maran, or Marn Labam to be exact, white wine. And red, I think we've seen as well. This is a new word. Banat, cats. Banat. And in Kanab, can't have Banat without Kanab. Kanab is dogs. And Fahani, books. Okay, so these are the darts I'm giving you guys. Where do you want to chuck a few of those? Anybody want to give it a go? So what I'm kind of expecting is you pick a noun, and then you tell me which in these it would land, creating one of those phrases as seen in the bottom right corner. I can get that. I'm also really into books. Fahani maharikihun. And well done, you picked the plural there. If you'd say fahani, just a book, then you could say, maharikihu, I like it. Fahani maharikihun, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people might agree on that one. Anybody else wanted to give one of these a go? So fana tashie. Well, not surprising really in a lesson for Dwarvish. Not too fond of elves. Yeah, it would be forgiven. Let me put it that way. Right. Okay. So just giving an example, guys. This is how you form these. Fairly simple, really. Again, you can conjugate or use some of these, like tashi, the verb to displease. Can you use that, like tashine, if you're talking about plurals? Now, fanad is a plural, so you normally would say fanad tashine, not tashie, because it's more than one. If you say fund tashie, then yes, that's correct. Although, it's not really the end of the world using a singular or plural here, but just to be 100% correct, it would be fanat tashine. So tashin is they displease. Tashine, they displease me. Okay, so this is about our atamas, our preferences. Now, other stuff that we're going to have a look at in this lesson is belat. Belat is from the word for wood, and it uses the form used for tools and utilities. So belat is furniture. So we're going to have a look at a couple of words for furniture. Again, there's a lot of vocabulary words in this lesson. I think we're over 80 words on the flashcards, which is a lot. But really see it as an advantage because it's going to expand your vocabulary and your verb forms tremendously, which allows for a lot more freedom for your translations and whatnot. Okay, first word, I think we have already seen. This is one Rabban. Now, one thing I want to say about the forms used here, what we see here, this pattern of a radical, A, radical, A, radical. So with radical, I mean the letters used. So R, A, R, A, or R, A, B, A, N. So these A's in between, let me put it that way. The A's in between the consonants here is this pattern of, is common for this type of noun related to things around or in the house. So a lot of these furniture items are going to be using this pattern. We're going to see a lot of these words. I think the next 3 or 4 are using this pattern. Also, in and around the house. The word house itself uses this pattern. Zahar, where you have in between the consonants, the vowel A is used as well. So the next word, the next furniture item we're seeing is fasat. Again, it uses this pattern, things in and around the house. Fasat is shelf. And then hadar, a keg. And you would say, hey, well, isn't this in and around the tavern? Well, a house or a building in general, let me put it that way, not specifically a house or a home. Now, agam here, note the glottal stop. Agam also uses this pattern that we're seeing. So all of these have A vowels. So Rabban, Fasat, Hadar, Agam. Now, as you might recall from the word Zahar, well, let me ask it as a question. Zahar is singular. It's one house. What did we say was the plural of Zahar? Yep, exactly. So very nicely done, by the way. Good pronunciation. Splitting that up, putting a pause in between those two H's. So you duplicate the middle consonant. So if we know that Zahar is in the same group of nouns like Rabban, Fasat, Hadar, Agam, then we basically know the plural of these as well. It uses the same thing. So Rabban is Rabban, Fasat is Fassat, Hadar is Haddar, and Agam is Aggam, right? So that's, for all of these that have two A's, that's the plural that you're going to use for them. It's the logic expands it. It's the same type. So the logic of plurals is also the same. Now, not all of them have this form. A fireplace, for instance, is a Zahar Urs. Now, we've seen Zahar, which is house. Anybody recall what Urs is and hence what zagar urs literally would mean. Yep, house fire. Now, that doesn't mean your house is on fire. It means it's the fire within the house, basically. So, zahar urs, fireplace, is the house fire. That's literally what it means. So, fireplace. We have also furniture that does not use that specific form that we've seen in Raban, Fasad, Hadar, etc., which is baruj, carpet. Then Nabag uses again that specific form that we've seen with Sahar, Raban, and all of that. Nabag, painting. Nabag, very cute painting, by the way, of a nice little dragon. Nabag, painting. Hadr, chest. Now, look at Hadar and then Hadur, chest. These are related because obviously they use the same radicals here, a chest and a box. They're actually linked to the word for encasement, things you put in something that encase something. An encasement is an ahdar. Again, uses those consonants, consonants H, D, R. So hadar, keg, hadur, a chest. Then what else do we have? We have igam, chair. Now, look at bench, agam. Look at chair, igam. Now, clearly you can see that these are related to the same thing. A bench, a chair. The imperative sit, like in sit down, sit is igim, right? To sit, sit. If you're commanding somebody to sit, it's igim. Now, this uses an E because, well, it's linked to other words we'll see in a minute. But we have seen a few words like that. It's actually linked to the word for utilities and tools, if you will, right? Belat is also one of those words. So as I said, belat or belat, furniture, one piece of furniture, a belat, is also tools, utilities. So things that are used, more used as a utility than just plainly something around the house. Hence, igam is considered more of a utility than a bench would be because, well, I guess it's a question of frequent use, perhaps. So, igam. We have Zahar Keled. Now, Keled, you might know from Keled Zaram, which is the Dwarvish original Tolkien word for mirror, the lake that is to the east of Moria. So, Zahar Keled. Zahar means house, Keled is glass. So, literally house glass. It is window, Zahar Keled. Next one, Nikad Belat. So here we see two of those utility words, utility tool words, if you will. Nikad and Belat. So Belat we saw is furniture, plural, and then pieces of furniture, if you will. And Belat is a piece of furniture. So Nikad is the word for clothing, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. It sounds like naked. But yeah, Nikad. The word for clothing. Nikat Belat is dresser, right? Clothing, furniture piece, if you will. Then Fahani Belat. We saw Fahani a moment ago. Fahani, we saw books. So Fahani is a bookcase. Fahani Belat. Then, one at a time. Then the next one is Medan. Medan is a door. Again, uses the form that we see Egam, Belat, Nikat, as a more of a tool, utility kind of thing. Something that has a very distinct function. Then this same thing, Zelaf, from the radicals used for sleeping, Zelaf. So a bed, a Zelaf. Then the last one, Dinak Zarak. Now we have seen Dinak. Can anybody recall what dinak exactly means, or dinak? Yeah. So dinak, the plural is candles. One dinak is a candle. And zarak means, literally, it means tower. So candle tower, candle stand, if you will. So these are a couple of the furniture, 15 furniture items that we're introducing in this lesson. Okay, so we are going to have a little mini game, if you will. The question here is, Kud belat ni Zahari? Now, Zahari is room. Zahari is rooms. Now, you know that Zahar is house. So Zahari literally means an element of the house. That's what it is. Like Labiri is also a section, Labiri. So it's always a piece of something if it's in that form. So Zahari is rooms. So if we know that Zahari is rooms, and we know the other words as well, Kud belat ni Zahari. What would that mean, folks? Kud belat ni Zahari. What furniture is in the rooms? So we have room, the first room, the second room, the third room. So not 1, 2, 3, but first, second, third. Ze, nu, game. So again, we're extending those vowels to make ze, which is 1 into ze, nu into nu, and gem into game. Okay, so first, second, third. So kud belat ni Zahari. So let's look at Zahari ze. So Zahari ze. Now we've just seen these. If you happen to remember them, great. If not, then we'll go through it. You can also have a look at Zahari nu if you want. And you can have a look at Zahari game. And any of those you might recall, great. If not, we'll go through it. I'm looking to form a sentence here that says the piece of furniture that we're talking about. So belat, whatever it is. Tati, ni, Zahari, and then ze, nu, gem. So meaning the piece of furniture, it is in room, the first one, the second one, the third one. So that's the structure I'm looking for here. If anybody wants to give it a go at anything you recall from the previous slides, then by all means. Yep. So Nekat Belat is the dresser, right? So Nekat Belat is what we see in the first room. So Nekat Belat Tatini Zahari, and then Ze, the first room. So yeah, absolutely correct. That is right there. Any others that you notice here that we saw earlier that you guys want to say that you mention or notice in these rooms? So Zahar Urs, the fireplace, is in the third room. So Tatini Zahari game. Yeah, absolutely correct. Okay, let's go through what we have here. So the first thing that we're listing here is Nabag, so which is the painting. So Nabag Tatini Zahari Ze. It's in the first room. Then what we just saw earlier here is Zahar Urs. Zahar Urs, indeed, as mentioned, is in Zahari's game, rather, the third room. Then Igam. Igam is in the second room. So Igam Tatini Zahari Nu. Then the dresser we've already had. So Nekat Belat is in the first room. So Tatini Zahari Ze. And then we have Fahani Belat. Fahani Belat is in the third room. So Fahani Belat Tatini Zahari game. Now we have Denaksarak. Denaksarak. What can we say about Denaksarak? Denaksarak, I would say Denaksarak Lu Tati Ni Zahari. If I'm saying Denaksarak Lutati Nizahari, what am I saying? Yeah, it's not in the rooms. That's what I'm saying. It's not in the rooms. So Denaksarak Lutati Nizahari, it's not in the rooms. To To be exact, lu, not lu, because that's no. Right, okay, so that's about furniture and what we find in rooms. We're going to be able to use that in other sections later on. Now, we did say that the main topic of this lesson was itnin, nimgimul itnin, which is around the town. So let's talk about the town, the itnin. So what are we seeing here? So first of all, as I said, itnin literally means the place of men, itnin. Now we're seeing quite a few things. In the top right corner, we're seeing zirsin. So zirsin, can anybody remember the word for tree? The word is zars. In lesson 1, actually, we also saw it in the name of Oakenshield. Mark azg zars ul. Zars tree. So azg zars is the oak tree. So zars is the word for tree. Zirsin literally means place of trees. So place of trees is a forest, right? Zirsin, the forest. So we see that in the top right corner there. Zirsin. What else is in the town? Again, zars, tree, zirsin, forest. So you might notice, by the way, itnin, place of men, literally. Zirsin, place of trees. So a lot of these things that we're going to see today end with in, which indicate a place of something, a place of more than one of this thing. That is literally what it means. So another word that we have here is an. Now, those of you that speak Swedish or any Scandinavian might kind of see a resemblance. The river on in Swedish. So like Gabilan in the original Dwarvish, the Great River, referring to one of the rivers of Beleriand, the Sirion River. So an kind of might recall on, which is the river in Swedish, and related Scandinavian languages also have similar words. So an river. Then we have kur, bridges. Now, one bridge is kur. Two bridges is kur. So you stretch the vowel. Now, the word for where is kur, without an H. So kur, kur, kur. So what I'm saying is where, bridge, bridges. Kur, kur, kur. I hope you're hearing the difference here. So kur is the one without the H, means where. Kur is bridge. Kur is bridges. Okay. So often people have challenges with how to say the clear K without the H and then with the H. The KH in Neo-Khuzdul is, it sounds like backhand. You really pronounce that H. It's not soft, it's very pronounced. So kur and kur, while the word for where is kur. There's no H, okay? So keep that in mind. There's kur, kur, and kur. Okay. Then nul, the word for streets. We have a lot of these nuls around here. We have a-nul, ata-nul, sigi-nul, farak-nul, ibal-nul, gamil-nul. Most of these we've seen already, not all of them. Bekar is weapons. Dehar is anvil. Now, why are we saying this? Because in a minute we'll see what the locations or the words for smith and armoury are. Ratum is statue, which is located at Ratum Nul, very convenient. Shulnu is dock, which is all the way on the right of the town. Again, at Shulnu Nul, that's also very convenient. The dock. Ibal is a square. Now, to be clear here, Ibal, it means the square, like market square. It also means square as shape, the square shape. However, the adjective square is something else. That's iblul. right? To be clear, if you're saying it's a square table, then it's raban iblul. But if you're saying I buy the table at the square, then it's apkimi raban zai ibal. Okay? So ibal, the square, whether it's shape or market, and then iblul, the adjective of it, the square, something, table, whatever it is. So while in English it's all the same word, in Neo-Khuzdul that's not the case. So ibal, square. Shilkin, the town well. So this is related to words like water, shalak, Shilkin, the town well. So literally the place of water, right? Shilkin, the town well, or the public fountain could also be a Shilkin. Girgin, tavern, Girgin. Now, what does this word remind you of, Girgin? Yeah, stout, dark ale, basically. Yeah, that's what it is. So Girgin is tavern. Now, you might say, hey, that's pretty weird. Why did they just pick the dark ale for, the place of dark ale is basically what it means, tavern. Now, Zilin, because Zulul and Zalul are the words for amber ale and lager, Zilin also exists, but Zilin means the ale brewery, the place of lager, the place of amber ales, right, is Zilin. That's a brewery of ales. So Girgin is the tavern, literally means place of dark ale, while Zilin, it's not on this map, by the way, there's no Zilin in this town. Well, maybe there might be, but it's not on the map at least. Zilin would be the brewery, just to be clear about that. Okay, next one is Ibrin grocery. That is related to things that grow. So Ibrin, literally a place of things that grow. And then we're talking about vegetables, fruit, and all of that grow, basically. So that's the grocery, Ibrin. Then the market, that doesn't use this in form at all. It has a very distinct word, which is manar. So the market is manar. Then Shirbin, a place of dread of some dwarves, no doubt. Shirbin, the barber, related to the word for shaving, which is also related to the original Tolkien word for bald hill, Sharbul, in the Silmarillion. Then Dihrin. Now, we mentioned before, Dehar is anvil, and I said I'd come back to that word. Dihrin, it uses the letters seen in Dehar. So Dihrin, if we know that Girgin is place of dark ale, Shirbin is place of the shave, if you will, right? Itnin is place of men, Zirsin is place of trees. All of these is place of something. Dihrin, smithy, literally means place of what? Yep, the anvil or anvils. Dihrin, so places or place of anvils, a smithy, basically. Now, there's also Bikrin. Now, I said Bikar is weapons. Bikrin is the armoury, right? So you will see those on the map there up in north, in Bekarnul, very conveniently named. Then Kirlin is the butchery. Now, Kirlin is linked to the words of sausage and minced meat. All of those words use KRL. So chopping up meat, basically. Kirlin, so place of minced meat or sausages, if you will, is a butchery. Kirlin. Then we have Himdin. The word for bread is hamd. Hamd. So Himdin, bakery, place of bread, if you will, place of where bread is baked. Himdin. Kirbin. Now, this is linked to the word for horse. Kurb. So Kirbin is a stable, or the stables, if you will. So these are all the words. Now take them in, have a good look at them. We're going to have a little bit of a conversation going on, and quite a few of these words is going to be used. So let us go on. Let's haburma.
Berasegem kur kirlin.
Ihbir tatiyom. Ifbir la kazabnul. Gajijibnis la himdin. Gajijifbir urnudkur aya uhgur. Igjij kurnul. Ihlitnul gem aya ubnus. Tati siginnul. Igjij siginnul la baraznul. Tati tir aya ubnus.
Right. I think most of you kind of have an idea where this is going. Somebody is asking for a specific location and somebody is giving them directions. So let's have a look again and I will put up the text as it is going on.
Berasegem kur kirlin.
Ihbir tatiyom. Ifbir la kazabnul. Gajijibnis la himdin. Gajijifbir urnudkur aya uhgur. Igjij kurnul. Ihlitnul gem aya ubnus. Tati siginnul. Igjij siginnul la baraznul. Tati tir aya ubnus.
Okay, so let's listen to it again. And now I will put up the English translations for these.
Berasegem kur kirlin.
Ihbir tatiyom. Ifbir la kazabnul. Gajijibnis la himdin. Gajijifbir urnudkur aya uhgur. Igjij kurnul. Ihlitnul gem aya ubnus. Tati siginnul. Igjij siginnul la baraznul. Tati tir aya ubnus.
So the first thing I want to do, going through these, is point your attention to words like ihbir, ifbir, ibnis, ichlit, igjij. Now, some of these you've already seen. Yeah, ichlit is take, right? Now, ifbir means go forward. Ihbir you've already seen, which is listen. We have words like igjij, follow. Igjij kurnul, for instance, follow Bridge Street. Now, igjij and gajij, you know, gajij means next, then, following, pretty much the imperative form, if you will, what we've seen in the previous lesson. So, igjij, like we have there, igjij kurnul, and the lady there often says gajij, then do this. Gajij ibnis. The word ubnus is used here, which is the left. So specifically, that's a noun, the left. And you also have uhgur listed there in the conversation. Aya uhgur. So gajij ifbir uru nutkur aya uhgur. Uhgur means the right. Now, there's also an adjective left and right, which is left is bunus and right is hugur. By the way, you don't need to write any of this down because it's in the notes, just saying. So if you're saying it was on the right, you'd say tati aya uhgur, the right, which is the noun basically. But if you're saying it's the left door, then you'd say medan bunus. Ubnus is left, then bunus left, but also it's the adjective here. Just want to make clear that it's not because one word is identical in English for adjective and noun that is necessarily the case in Neo-Khuzdul. In fact, it often is not. Okay, so here we see ubnus as the left, while bunus is left, and then uhgur the right, while hugur is right. So these are listed, I'm pretty sure, also in the flashcards. So in short, if you can answer the question which one, that's the adjective bunus or hugur, and if you're talking about a position, then the left, the right is ubnus and uhgur. Okay, so let's go over it. He is asking, excuse me, where is the butchery? Birashagami kur kirlin. So again, said kirlin is the place of the minced meat, of the sausages. Kirlin. Ihbir tati yom. Now, there, the word there has 4 possibilities in Neo-Khuzdul. 3 of them depend on your position and what you are how far the thing is that you are talking about, if you can see it or not. We've mentioned this. There's a document that has listed these already. We've talked about that in the past, or at least in one of the documents. Yom here is the place beyond sight. So the there, beyond sight, beyond touch, far away. Yom. It is there. Why is she saying it? Because they're at the house, at that the green dot on the map, and they're talking about the red dot on the map. So clearly, a lot of houses and there's a river in between. There's a lot of stuff in between. They can't see the butchery from where they are. And that's why they're using the word yom for there. Then ifbir la kasabnul, go forward till Cake Street. So la, with the glottal stop, is till, until. So go forward till Cake Street. So let's just go back a little bit here. So we'll just try to follow from the green dot, if you will. So go forward till Cake Street. So Cake Street being Kasabnul. So we go basically through Bekarnul, go forward till Cake Street. So we're at Kasabnul. Then take a left until the bakery. So which is Gajijibnis Lahimdin. So take a left is a verb here. So ibnis, I said that ubnus is the left, but to take a left is an instruction. It's a command. Take a left. So that uses the imperative. Ibnis, right? So gajij ibnis, then take a left until la himdin, the bakery. Then go on over the East Bridge on the right. So then go on, gajij ifbir. Ifbir, again, another of those imperative commands. Go forward, that's what it means. Go on, go forward. Uru, over the East Bridge. Nutkur, uru nutkur, over the East Bridge. Aya uhgur, on, upon the right. Aya uhgur, the right. It's a noun, it's not an adjective in this case. Then, we're already on the other side of town now. We've crossed the river. Then, Igjij Kurnul. So we say Gajij is next, following. Then, Igjij is the command for following. So follow Bridge Street. So we see Kurnul. Kurnul, that's there. We follow that. Then, Ihlit Nul Game Aya Upnus. Ihlit is take. Nul is street. Then game is third. So take the third street. Aya Ubnus, upon the left. So the first street is Atanul. The second street is Sarsnul. The third street is Siginul. So she's saying to take the third street on the left, which from the point of the person walking toward is Siginul. So that's that third street. And then she confirms that by saying it's long streets. Tati Siginul. Then the next thing she says is Ag Igjij Siginul la Barasnul. So follow, again we see Igjij follow, long street till Red Street, Siginul la Barasnul. And then the last thing is to confirm it is there, Tati Tir. Now in the first line we saw, listen, it is there. That was Tati Yom. Why? Because that's the Yom is the word for there used for things that we can't see, they're far, they're distant, we can't touch them, we can't view them, while tir is there, but within view. Because if you're at that corner, you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see the butchery from that place. Hence, you're going to use the word tir. It is there on the left. Aya ubnus. And that's the, there we go. And that's the final line, and then we were at our location asked, which is the Kirlin, the butchery. Right, so let's put up a couple of these. Ibnis, Ibnisi, Ihgir, Ivbir, Ininik, we could also use. We haven't seen it in this one, but we could. Come back, return, which might remind you of Inik De, which is the inscription that was on Kili's stone in the Hobbit. It means return to me, which was the stone his mother gave to him. It had the inscription in runes, Inik De, which is return to me. So Inik, come back, return. Ichlit, take. And Igjij, follow. And we have the left, Ubnus, the right, Uhgur. Again, if we use it as an adjective, it's bunus and hugur, left and right. So like the left bridge, the right bridge, that would be an adjective. Aifbar or aifbaru, in front of, to the front. Ayrak, we haven't seen that. Now there's durathuk, which is next to, but this is a slightly different meaning, on the side of, right? So if you're saying you're looking down a street and then you have the left side and the right side, let's say on the left side is the butcher, you're saying on the side of the butcher is this. So on that side, so while durathuk would be next to, right? So to be clear, it's not the same thing. Gagin, one fairly simple one to remember because it uses almost the same words as the English word again. Same letters, I mean, again. Anu, gagin. Aktu, after, behind. Some of these we've already seen. Durathuk, next to, adjacent to. Gajij, lots of gajijs when you are going through directions, as you've seen in our earlier conversation. La, which is until. Uru, over, which probably will be used only here for the bridge, over the bridge. Urukur, over the bridge. Yom, there, which is a place beyond reach, beyond sight. Then you have Tir, which we see, Tir, which is a place nearby, within reach. That's why when we were at the corner of Siginul and Barasnul, where you can see the butchery, we would be using Tir, even though we're talking about it's from way back on the other side of town, that the person speaking is indicating when you are there, you will see it. Then you also have Yir, which is there, yonder, in the distance, though still visible. So that's the three there's I'm talking about. And there's also a fourth one, which I'm not mentioning here, but it's not related to distance, if you will. Sometimes in English as well, you will say there are 3 bridges in town. The there used does not indicate a location, that does not indicate a distance, right? It indicates it's a temporary replacement of another noun, right? And that is a different word in Neo-Khuzdul. We're not going to see it here, but I'm just saying there's 4 of them. And if in English the word there does not mean something far away, like there you have it, for instance, or there are 4 of them, or those kind of lines, then that doesn't indicate a something on a long distance away. Then you would use a different word, which is hier, by the way. So yom, tir, yir are the 3 there words that you can use related to distance, something in the distance. And then obviously yadi, which you already know, is here. So those are the words you can keep in mind for the exercises that we're going to do. I've got a couple of questions for you guys. First, kur zahar, faham, fa farak. Fa, if you might not know, I think we might have omitted that one on the list. Fa means or. So faham, fa farak. Now the question is, what do these mean? And can you answer? So kur zahar, faham, fa farak. Let's start with translating this line. Can anybody give a go at it? Kur zahar, faham, fa farak. Yep, indeed. Where is the house, north or south? Faham, fa farak. Now, can we answer that one? The house seems to be all the way up here, so I think that's pretty clear. By the way, there's also, I can give you a little tip. There's a street named after it right here, and it's the opposite of this street. So can't make it more clear than that. So all the way up there, there's a street named after it, and all the way down there is another street with Faham, indeed. Faham, the north. Absolutely. Tati Faham, it is, or you could say Zai Faham, at the north. Or in the north, Ni Faham. Right, next question. Kur Shulnu. Kur Shulnu. Shulnu is the dock. It's where the river enters the town. You can see the dock listed there. Shulnu Kur, Shulnu Zelem Fanud. Anybody answer this question? So Shulnu Ninud, the dock is in the east. Okay, a different kind of question now. Kur kapkimi shalk. Kur kapkimi shalk. Now, first of all, what does, well, shalk, I said before, is a drink, right? Shalk reminds you of the word shalak, water. So shalk is a drink. So kur kapkimi shalk. Kur kapkimi shalk. What does that mean? Let's start with that. Kur kapkimi shalk. Yep. Where can we buy a drink? Or to be exact, where can I buy a drink? Because apkimi is I buy, right? Ka is can. Where can I buy a drink? If it were where can we buy a drink, what would it be? Yep, ka mapkimi. So mapkimi is we buy. Ka mapkimi is can we buy. So kur kapkimi shalk is where can I buy a drink, right? So where can we buy a drink would be ka mapkimi. Now, what's the answer to this one? Yep, zai girgin. So zai, good use, at. So zai means with or at the tavern. Zai girgin, indeed. Next question. Kur kapkimi bekar. Where can I buy bekar? Now the question is, what are bekar? And where can we buy them? It's the armoury, indeed. It uses the same letters as bekar. It's bikrin. Bikrin. So again, like zars and zirsin, tree and place of trees. Bekar and bikrin, place of weapons, place of arms. So the armory. In all fairness, though, I don't think you can buy a lot of weapons at the armory, but okay, the idea is clear. Kur kapkimi bekar, where can I buy arms? You can buy them at the armory. Well, I don't know if you can buy them, but they're there at least. Then, simple question. Kur manar. Can anybody recall what that was? We saw it a moment ago. Kur manar. Yep, nice one. Where's the market? And where is the market? Yep, ibal, at the square. So zai ibal, at the square. If I were to say, I could say manar, I could say nul manar, on which street is the market? Now, bit of a trick question because it's not on a street, it's on the square itself. So lukistal ayanul, it's not, kistal is the word for really, it's not really on a street, akibal, it's but on the square, right? Now, on to the next question. I could say nul kirlin. So upon which street is kirlin? Now, we saw it in the conversation. The guy was asking for kirlin. Now, I could say nul kirlin. What does that mean? Yep, the butchery. The place of the minced meat. The place of the sausages. That's what it means. They sure like their sausages, apparently. Right. I could say nul kirlin, rather. And what's the question? What's the answer to that one? Tati ayabaras nul. It is on Red Street. Right. Next question. One at a time, obviously. Kut nul streets. Kut nul. Niktunul girgin ra shirbin. So what streets, plural, nul, niktunul, between, girgin, the tavern, ra shirbin, kutnul, niktunul, girgin, ra shirbin. So what streets are between the tavern and the barber? There's not that many, but there's a few. Zulul nul, an nul, and kur nul. So A0, River Street, Koer0, Bridge Street, Zula0, Ale Street. So those are the streets between those two places. Right, the next one. Koer kapkimi kasab. So where can I buy kasab? Anybody recall what kasab is? And where can you buy it? Himdin, very good. Most might think it's using the same letters as kasab. It sadly is not. It's using the letters for bread, which is hamd. So himdin, the bakery. Then Koer nanag. Can anybody remember what nanag is and where do we see them on the map? They're flowers, yeah. Yeah, you could say at Atanul at Men's Street or Zayan at the river. You could also say that. Or Durat Huk An, next to the river. Or next to Atan Nul, Durat Huk Atanul, next to Men's Street. Right, okay, a couple more. Kud Aya Deharnul. Kud Aya Deharnul. What is upon Deharnul? What is upon Anvil Street? What is upon Anvil Street? Can anybody remember the name for this place? Dihrin, indeed, the smithy. Dihrin is on Deharnul, on Anvil Street. Okay, the next ones we'll do together. Bikrin ni fahamu faraku itnin. So Bikrin, again, think of what letters are we seeing here. Bikrin, you see B-K-R, which is Bekar, right? So weapons. Bekar, Bikrin is the armoury. So the armoury is in Fahamu, north of, or Faraku, south of Itnin, the town. So the armoury, is it in the north of or the south of the town? Now, one thing in English you would say, is it in the north or south of? Only one of these would have of, while in Neo-Khuzdul you'll both list those as of. So north of and, or in this case, or south of. So both will use that of element. Fahamu, faraku, itnin. Can anybody answer this one? Is it in faham or is it ni faham or ni farak? North of the town. Ni fahamu itnin. Indeed. Okay, next one. Koer kirbin. Now, kirbin is related to the word kurb, which is the word for karab, which is the word for a horse and horses. Karab. Kirbin. So what does this mean? Koer kirbin, and can you give me an answer to this question? Yep, it's the stables. Okay, I see why you're saying shulnunul, because of this little horsey and the caravan. But the stables is actually a little bit further to the left on the map, which is Kirbinul. That's where the stables are at. So I'm guessing that little horsey and the caravan are heading toward the stables. So Koer Kirbin is actually Kirbin, Tati Kirbinul. It's on the stable streets, fairly, simple name for that one. But indeed, it is in the east of the town. So Nudu Itnin, east of the town. Right, let's do the next ones here. Kud Durathuk aan. What is next to the river? Now, these could be a lot of things. Could be Koer, the bridges are next to the river. Could be Nanag. Nanag is Durathuk aan, right? It's next to the river. Shulnu, the dock. Shulnu Tati Durathuk aan. It's next to the river. So there's quite a few possibilities on this one. The next one. Kud Uru aan. What is over the river? Now, in this case, there's only one or two things you could say, really. You could name the specific bridges, the Nutkoer, the east bridge, and the Zelemkoer, the west bridge. Or you could just say Koer, bridges are over the river. Uru, aan, over the river. The next question. Kud niktunul ratam ra dihrin. What is between something and something? Now, can you recall what ratam means by chance? Yep, statue, that's it. So Ratam Nul is Statue Street, and there's a cute little dwarf statue there as well. So Kud Niktunul Ratam Dihrin. So what is between the statue and the smithy? So Dihrin is the smithy. What is between those two things? So there's a couple of options, I would say, where you could name the streets. Kurnul is between that. Siginul is between that. You could also say, well, the place which is between it is the barber. So Shirbin is the barber. So those are the options of what you could say there. Then Kud ni zelemu idnin. What is in the west of the town? Quite a few possibilities. What you could say there: Girgin, which is the tavern; Ibrin, which is the grocery; Bikrin, which is the armoury, or you could just name the streets: Gedulnul, Zelemkur, the bridge; Zululnul, Malkanul, there's a Hobbit Street, which is where the grocery is at, which is pretty apt, I think. So Happy Street, West Street, Ale Street, Hobbit Street, it's all in the west of town. Right, then Kurb Ra Sejer. We haven't seen that. We've seen Kurb, which is horse. Well, we've seen it introduced in this lesson. Kurb. So where is the horse? And now this is a new word. Sejer means caravan. So Kurb Ra Sejer. Now there's that little horsey and that wagon that we mentioned earlier. Kurb Ra Sejer. So the Sejer is the wagon, the caravan. Kurb is the horse. That's in the top right where Zirsin is, or Shulnunul, where the Dock Street is, or the forest. So you could say it's at the forest, so Zai Zirsin, or at Dock Street, Zai Shulnunul. Right. Okay, then the last bit of this lesson is we've talked about the Dihrin, the smithy. We've talked about the Bikrin, armoury. Now let's talk about what is inside these things, some weapons and such. So first of all, no Dihrin or Bikrin without a Tulk. Tulk is the smith. Tulk reminds you perhaps of Silmarillion name Telkar, which was a Dwarvish supreme smith, which forged the blade Narsil, which later became Anduril, Flame of the West, the sword of Aragorn. So Telkar literally meaning supreme smith. So it was a title of that dwarf. So Tulk, smith. And what can these guys make? Well, a couple of things. Zagr, a sword. Zagr, sword. Now, a dagger is Rathuk Zagr. Now, if you know Zagr is swords, you might recall Rathuk. Then what literally does a Rathuk Zagr mean? So Rathuk Zagr is a hand sword, or literally a dagger. A bakhuz is a war hammer. It's one of those heavy things you really do not want to meet your forehead. Bakhuz, a war hammer. Now, there's also other types of hammers. A bekaz, again, this uses the form we've seen for things like igam, a chair, or middan, a door. So it's the tool and utilities form. Bekaz, hammer. Now, there's also the smith hammer, which uses the same form of E and A, but then that is a telak, which is linked to the word for smith, which is tulk. So telak, smith hammer, normal hammer is a bekaz, and a war hammer is a bakhuz, right? So, yeah, you wouldn't want to go to war with a bekaz, but you really want to go to war with a bakhuz. big difference right there. Right, then there's obviously bark, like bark, the axe. Then there's also a smith tong, which is tulk aklat. Now, aklat literally means a grasper, right? So a smith, the grasping tool of a smith, if you will, tulk aklat, tong. And then what we've seen before, dehar, which is an anvil, dehar, anvil. Right, so these are our list of some, at least, of the weapons. Not expansive list, but still. And some of the tools used in the dihrin and bikrin weapons we see in the armory, and tools we see used or made, swords and whatnot, and weapons in the dihrin, in the smithy. Then, well, first of all, well done on working through lesson 8, folks, because this was most content-heavy lesson of the course, I would think. Simply reaching this point made, it's solid work, let me put it that way. All of this may feel dense at this point, but they're exactly the kind of vocabulary that turns the language from something you study into something you can actually use. And of course, since this is Dwarvish, you're not going to be able to walk into a local dwarven tavern to practice your Neo-Khuzdul over a drink. That would be nice, though. That said, you can practice with each other. So if you feel up to it, try having simple conversations in the voice channel. When I can join, I will definitely do so. Greetings, directions, short exchanges, slight awkward pauses included. All of that. It's a big jump, I know. It might feel strange at first as well, but really it can help you. It really can. Now, we're nearing the end of the course. So at this point, we're trying matters more than being perfect. And that really is like the mantra for all of these lessons. Trying matters more than being perfect. Nothing bad will happen if you stumble, mix things up, or forget a word. On the contrary, you'll probably remember things better because of it. So if you're slightly curious, get together in the chat channel, give it a try. After all, what the harm can it do, really? Worst thing, you'll probably have a good laugh. Right, that'll do for me, folks. Thanks for attending the class. And if there's questions, you know where to find me. Shamuk.